You just don't understand. I'm a black man carrying the stars and stripes. What don't I understand? Every time I pick this thing up, I know there are millions of people out there who are going to hate me for it. Even now, here. I feel it. The stares, the judgment. And there's nothing I can do to change it. Yet I'm still here. No super serum, no blonde hair or blue eyes. The only power I have is that I believe we can do better.
Welcome to the Everything is Permitted Falcon and the Winter Soldier review special, where we are going to be reviewing both the series or season finale, we're not quite sure, it may get another season, of the show, as well as the season review as a whole. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside, as always, my trusty co-hosts and fellow Avengers, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. Happy Captain America Day.
Leave the gun.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I'm going to get
Take
that
the
gun.
Cannoli. There can only be one Captain America.
Oh my God.
The series begs to differ, I guess. There's been a few now already.
My eye wants to twitch.
Kind of like
Brittany's going to have some words.
like John
It's
Walker.
fine.
Oh no, we're all going to
I've
have some
calmed
words
down
about
after
the series, I think.
the few days.
I feel like you're going to get going again once we start getting in depth.
Only specific things.
We're just going to.
It's like how you guys know to avoid bringing up Thanos in front of me. There's like specific things. Madripoor, never bring it up again.
Oh, so you didn't like that message when I Venmo'd you?
Oh, no, I thought that was hilarious. I love that. Oh, I meant to bring your fucking comic today. I forgot.
You suck.
I'm sorry.
Well, I
Because
know
I didn't go in your car.
I know that you have thoughts on this, so I'm going to let you go first. This is specifically right now just on the series finale. Season finale. Your initial thoughts.
So, season finale made me like more fine with the show than I was, because they at least ended some things on a certain note where I'm like, okay, they made that make sense at least. But I still have a lot of gripes with it. We'll get into it when we discuss the following bullet points that you have. Overall, I'm disappointed in the whole Flag Smasher thing. I don't get why the MCU has to like kill them off. They could have been a thing. I know their movement's still gonna have support, but it's just like, really? I know there was still like one Flag Smasher in the water, but like, did Zemo really need that? He's going to do his own thing now. Come on, damn it. Like, there are things I liked about it. I loved the music. I liked the song they used at the end, because I already liked that song, and I can't stop listening to it. It's so good. And I love his costume. It was the most comic accurate costume I think they've done yet. Which is saying something, because they've had quite a few that are really good. It was functional, and any changes they did make sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, yes, I like this episode. I still couldn't. I actually got kind of annoyed by the Carly character at the end. By the end of this,
Yes.
It was disappointing.
I seriously,
It was very disappointing.
because like she came off as like a brat to me, and also I don't see it in the points here, but once again, I know we discussed this the last episode we reviewed, but the entire, and I actually talked about this with coworkers. I was like, right on, Walker, you're doing everything that you should be doing. I thought
he like redeemed himself.
there was that moment that I thought they were going to diverge his character from Steve Rogers when you had Carly and you had the thing about the truck with the diplomats about to fall over the edge and such. I thought he was going to go after Carly because that is what Steve would not do. Steve would save those people no matter what, even if it meant the villain getting away. But he saved those people, which was a Steve Rogers thing. And I was kind of like, I thought they're trying to like make this guy different than Steve, like not make him so sympathetic that I'm like, yeah, he's doing everything. Because when she says like, oh, you know, your friend's death didn't, like, his life didn't mean anything. Like, I would have said the same thing. Like, what, his fucking life didn't matter to you? Like, I would have said the exact same thing if somebody had killed my friend. I mean, and I know that they're probably doing, it's the whole.
No, it was Disney's whole woke Black Lives Matter
I know.
small phrase they went to do, and I was just like, ooh.
Yeah, I know. It made me wince. And obviously the line that you and I were talking about on the way to the theater where and I'm sure Julian might have felt the same way.
Which line?
Oh,
when Sam's saving the truck from falling after
it's the Black Falcon.
Where he's like, "That's the Black Falcon." And the guy next to him goes, "Nah, that's Captain America." I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
That's serious. The only way that could have been made even worse is if like a giant flag unfurled behind them and just started waving and everything. Like it was so forced.
I'm all for like certain cheesy comic moments that match it, but like even that was just like, that is so bad. Nobody talks like that.
Well,
nobody would say
nobody
that.
talks like that, and Falcon has also never ever just been. He's never been called Black Falcon. Yeah. He's just always been.
It's just been a thing
Falcon.
in the show, and I'm like, but Black.
What the hell is wrong with you?
You can just tell it's not written by people. It's white people.
I said this to Karen last night. I really, really enjoyed the finale, and there's parts of it that I actually strongly disagree. Brittany and I were talking about it on Discord a little bit last night that I strongly disagree about, but we'll get into that later. I do have a lot of issues with the Flag Smashers, like you said. Mm-hmm. Probably the worst thought out villain, whatever you want to call them, in the MCU so far.
Yeah, because they like just weren't villains.
They just
Carly going off the deep end after she.
Is it Carrie or Carly? Am I getting it wrong?
Okay,
Carly.
Making sure. K-A-R-L-I.
Yeah, just making sure.
Like Matt said, was just a little brat. I can't take that actor seriously.
It's just weird because like her character had like was more thought out in the beginning, and then the minute that like in the earlier episodes Sam goes to talk her down and she's really buying into it, like that made a lot of sense. The character had a lot of like weight to her, and then the minute that's broken by John Walker jumping in, and then she's like, I can't trust you guys at all, and then there's like that back and forth constantly, then she becomes this character who's like so. Like, she goes off the deep end in a way that's, like, unbelievable, the way that...
Very unbelievable.
Well, also, part of the problem that the show did is I never felt a human connection to the Flag Smashers. They were just a bunch of dudes and women and masks and such. I never felt them as characters.
Well, no, and I also
people.
thought that their cause was bullshit. Like, you know, like, their cause is, I think, like, not something easily sympathized with, honestly. Like, I don't get it.
It's more like... They just shouldn't have been villains.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the whole thing of like the government immediately saying they're terrorists and stuff, yeah, that happens all the time. But also like it's one of those cases where if this show were shot from the perspective of Carly and the Flag Smashers, it would be the same as Star Wars and every other fucking Hunger Games, everything you have where this rebellious group overthrows this oppressive structure and we're rooting for them. And the way the show tried to set it up from the opposite angle or tried to play this middle ground where you show both sides, it's still... The narrative didn't feel right at all for anything.
I also felt that the issue was resolved way too simply with Sam just basically giving a speech to the senator, and then all of a sudden this massive monolith organization was like, you know what, we should stop being dicks and just do everything that.
But the other thing is,
you got to remember that's
solved.
The whole thing with the speech, and I think it's divided at this table. I think it's divided on the internet. I loved the speech. I know Karen loved the speech. I love everything about that moment. And you have to remember too, like, I know these shows and movies sometimes like mix reality with like what we see on the page, and comics do that all the time too. We talk about that on the show all the time. But at the end of the day, this is all supposed to be fantastical. So
of course, yes.
You know, like them having a change of heart, like I could believe it, because at the end of the day, though this show tried to tackle some sensitive issues that are going on right now, and not very well, it is a comic book show at the end of the day, and we all know that the reputation like Disney already has, they weren't ever going to truly, I guess, go full social justice is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I liked Sam's speech.
Yes, I did.
But it was like the rest of the show where I liked the majority of it until the very end. They got to pull some stupid shit that makes me dislike it. So the speech was good. He made sense. He told both sides, he's like, no, don't call them terrorists because they were just doing these things because you weren't pulling your own fucking weight, and you have the power and you need to have the right people at the table because that's exactly what happens in our society. Some of the phrasing could have been changed, whatever, but I was here for it. I was like, this feels out of the comics. This feels very in character for Sam. I'm here for it. Then they have the stupid Bucky line after he finishes. He's like, oh, sorry, I was texting a black man in a suit. And I'm like, you guys got to every good emotional moment, you got to undertow with like a lame joke. But aside from that, because it is a fantastical world, that's mostly why I have the problem with the show. Because if this is a fantastical world where you can make things actually work out and happen, they don't do anything. Doesn't matter what Sam said. It didn't solve things in the show. They didn't do anything to correct the system that's happening. like he got the government to actually start to work on things, but there's so much that's still like Sam did what he had to do. He's Captain America now, but there's so much that's just status quo. It's still status quo.
But you have to remember too, like, and you've been saying this, I think, since the show started, and even back to WandaVision. This is all setting up Phase 4, and this is all setting up a possible second season of this show. Like, leaving things left unfinished isn't like a huge shock or like something that doesn't make sense. Like, these are things that could and probably will get tackled in a potentially, second season and the fourth Captain America film that is now being made. So I don't have. I agree with you. I think a lot of the.
I'd say the finale is the best episode for me.
The Bucky stuff. Bucky stuff. We'll talk about him in a bit too, but it's so underutilized. We'll get to that. The last thing I want to say, because you already said it, and I have to say it too. I fucking love that suit. I'm already a sucker for any Captain America suit anyway, except actually, shockingly, his original. I hate the original.
Well, the V and everything.
Just like the very original Captain America suit. Like, this is like this just great mix of like the movie suits and right out of the page of the covers of all new Captain America, Sam Wilson Captain America. It's also a mix of the Steve Rogers stealth suit. It's just got all these awesome aspects.
Layered.
It is literally layered. I loved it. That helicopter chase scene is one of the coolest things they've ever done.
That's what I was trying to remember. I was like, there was a part of this episode I really liked.
Like, that was just so badass, and they were playing. Henry Jackman did like harken back to the Winter Soldier score he did, and I was just like, oh.
I love the suit. I love that it's made of vibranium. I know when I guessed it on Geeks with Kids, like the guys were trying to say like, I don't understand how like he has the strength to push the car up and everything. I'm like, one, he was using jets on his thing, but he was still struggling. I was like, but mind you, I was like, the suit itself is made of vibranium. And they're like, no, it's not like in the fabric. I'm like, the Wakandans, all of their clothes are weaved with vibranium in them. That's why their suits are so powerful. That's why Black Panther can withstand things. So I was like, his is super powered, but I was like, all their commodity is based on vibranium. Like, you get normal clothes there, and they're made of vibranium. So I was like, that's why he's not getting fucked up. Like, yeah, he still has normal human strength, and he's never going to be...
his ass kicked by Batroc.
He's still never going to be one of those super serum guys, but, like, Shield's made of vibranium, his wings are made of vibranium, and his whole fucking outfit is. The goggles, you want to punch him in the eye or shoot him in the eye? That's fucking vibranium goggles, bro. You basically
have to shoot him in the cheek to hurt him, or to
or the top
of his head, which is clearly exposed.
Yeah. Hey. Let's talk about...
helicopter fight, so good.
Oh, so good.
I like that he used the woman in the helicopter, too.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as he flew up next to them, and I was just like, I feel like he's going to use that Asian actress. And then he, like, scanned, and he was like, who knows how to fly a helicopter? I was like, fuck yeah. Let's go. I don't even know her name, and I'm ride or die.
I said, from the minute they went to Madripoor and Sharon Carter was acting sketchy, I was like, oh, yeah, she's the power broker. It's like the worst kept secret of the show, but I have to give myself credit because I got something right.
It's just one of those things where, like, you knew that she was involved, but also like the MCU has been referencing the 10 rings forever, but never showing who's like ahead of it. And then they had the fake Mandarin and Iron Man. So I was just like, it could be her, or they could just throw in some random fucking person.
Right.
But you were right.
It was her. I mean, honestly, it was a terrible secret because as soon as they went to her little hideout and she had all this original art, like she's obviously the power broker. Yeah. And the whole thing with the end, I seriously did not like that little turn and everything, because when she basically, got reinstated back in the government and such, and she makes that call as like, line up buyers, we're gonna have so much secrets and such to start. Like, she literally could have almost.
I think you're gonna say what I'm gonna say.
Only thing she was missing at that point is just started.
No,
like laughing.
I agree. It was the cheesiest shit, and it looks like even the way they edited it, like she's walking down the steps, and then she has this pause dramatically, and then turns her phone. I'm like, did they just tell her like grab your phone and then turn now? Like, it's so weird. They play this villain music, which is like, oh, Jesus Christ. And on top of that, Sharon's one of those people that apparently disappeared during the snap. You're telling me she came back, amassed this whole group.
Wait, did she?
Gained this whole... Yes, apparently we looked it up online for Geeks with Kids because we were trying to figure out what is the time frame between this and the snap or whatever. I didn't think so. I was like, I thought all these years maybe she was like... She disappeared, she was out in Madripoor, and it's been like years since, Civil War. But it's like, no, she apparently got snapped out, somehow came back, was able to amass these resources and powers.
In
being
months?
Someone,
that's next to impossible.
That's what I'm saying. It's insane.
There must be a disconnect with.
Like, I don't know if it's just wrong on the internet or like.
I think it's got to be wrong.
The people that are in charge of the MCU were like, "Oh yeah, she totally got snapped." It makes no sense.
The only way I could see her being snapped out and working is if there was a power broker, she killed them and took their place because nobody knows who the power broker is. So all of a sudden she's like giving orders.
Because I thought there's a line in the movie where she's talking about like cleaning up the some of the mess of like that happened during the snap.
Yeah, but
like,
I don't.
That she was working. I don't know. Anyway,
it's weird either way.
I actually I don't mind the heel turn. I hate the way it was handled because they just did a horrible job. Like, okay, so all the art, she has a personal driver. She's wearing some fancy ass clothes,
and nobody
like.
Cares.
Come on, people! Like, how many times do I say this about television? Don't treat your audience like they're fucking stupid.
That's all this show did.
Yeah, it
and
really
that's what
did.
killed me. Dude, I told Matt in the car, this show gave me a headache and actually confused me more. I was never confused with WandaVision. Never felt any sort of mental pain. This show was strenuous for me. Like, I had to be like, what the fuck? Why the fuck? How the fuck? For half the show.
I know I said this to you, Brittany, in the car, but one thing that I also wasn't a fan of is the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character. Like, they made her like too comedic for my taste.
I love the character.
No, and the character is fine, but you're telling me somebody who essentially has their hands in almost every dirty thing the government does is this very carefree, like, maybe I planned it, maybe I didn't, or maybe I did, or maybe I didn't.
Do you love that she has one streak in her hair to show you that she's bad? But I was going to say, she was supposed to make her first appearance in the Black Widow movie. It got delayed.
I don't know what Julian's doing.
He wants to go next.
I do. Just keep going.
But anyway, it got delayed. So the thing is, this feels weird because it's her second appearance in the MCU, but we haven't seen her first appearance yet. So she just kind of shows up out of nowhere, has this like laissez-faire attitude, but also like low-key can kill you, but did she? Whatever. And it's just like, I like her, and I like the character. I also need to see that initial establishment, and also it's just John Walker with her.
What is making John Walker a fucking nerd? They're making him a nerd.
It's weird. And at
John
the end,
Walker's
they're
not
just
a
like
nerd.
buddy, like joking around, whatever. Like, he was the most believable episode for me was when he snapped and killed somebody because they killed his friend.
Yep.
Like, the rest of the show, I'm like, is this John Walker? What
They
am I
just
watching?
didn't know what to do with him.
Hold on. Why didn't he change his outfit when he was building the fucking shield? That would have been a cool reveal if he would have showed up to fight the Flag Smashers and he was already wearing the black outfit, was like, I'm not Captain America anymore. Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
But
In his heart, he still
three
believes.
things.
yes.
I hate Elaine. I hate her being the vice president Veep, and I just really hate Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Period. So I just I can't. I just can't with this character because I fucking hate the actor.
Well, there you go.
And
Okay, then.
I love how the difference in opinion in this table. He's like, I hate everything about it. And you're just like, I don't believe it. And I'm just like, we need to see more. I'm not saying she's the best, but yeah.
The one thing I'll say about going back to Sharon Carter real quick is that I'm fine with the heel turn because she is always very shady in the comics and is actually like done dirty to Steve before.
But no, I disagree.
Oh, man.
Because this is such a this is so out of character for her to be like.
Brittany's gonna flip this
lead
table.
power-
it's out of character for her as far as the MCU. Like
I do think
the current Captain America.
I
run?
do.
She can be shady as fuck.
I do agree with Julian that at least for the MCU universe, what they've established, it is kind of out of character.
Fine. Fine. Make her the Black Widow that you killed off. Because apparently that's what they want to fucking do. Go ahead.
We've already talked about the suit, so we'll skip that. We already talked about John Walker. Bucky's closure in this episode. Too easy, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing that kills me about this. The main reason I think I don't like the show that much is because the show is called Falcon and Winter Soldier. You brought in all these other characters in a show that you made 6 episodes long. That's a 6-hour runtime at best. And you divided the story up among so many characters that we really didn't get a show about Sam and Bucky.
No.
I wanted to see a show where Sam is learning how to be and will eventually be Captain America. I wanted a show where Bucky is dealing with the fact that he was Winter Soldier, overcoming that trauma, and is going to shed that title.
They actually the episode where they showed him the flashback of him in Wakanda when he was like
That was the
completely
most character
broken, like
development.
that was they really should have done
gorgeous.
more of that stuff just because of like showing how
This
broken
show-
of a human being he was.
They really should have called this Falcon and U.S. Agent because
That's
John
what it
Walker
was.
was more focused on than Bucky, unfortunately.
And
Bucky's been done dirty in the movies too, so it's just
Yeah.
like it's this continuation of Sebastian Stan getting screwed by writers.
like their banter was fun.
It was
but
great.
also like you wanted to see more of them. They didn't finally feel like a unit until the end anyway.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of believable, but at the same time, like you see so early on in the show that Bucky knows that he killed this dude's son and has to work through like that trauma of eventually telling him. But the fact that in the last episode, like the parts of the episode I really liked aside from the helicopter fight was basic, like the fact that Carly died and everything, I was just like, what the fuck? But like after technically the episode kind of ends, it's not before like when the credits start, but like when they're tying off the loose storylines. I like that Bucky was starting to make amends with people, but then again, I wanted to see him slowly do that throughout the whole show.
Yes.
I wanted to see the interactions with everybody, see him shed this. The fact that he's told the dude, your son was murdered by the Winter Soldier, and that was me. He said I was the Winter Soldier. And he tells Sam they called me White Wolf in Wakanda. When they ended the credits and it said Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it should have said Captain America and the White Wolf. I'm fine with him moving
Captain
on.
America and Bucky Barnes.
Yeah, exactly. Like the fact that they called him like Sergeant Barnes, like the other soldiers, the people recognize him for who he is. People don't even necessarily know that he's the Winter Soldier.
Correct.
The general public. So it's like, if he's making amends and breaking these things, let him have a new title. I don't care if it's not even in the comics. White Wolf will be cool as shit for him to be
I'd read that comic.
in the MCU.
Yep.
But it's like, that's how you show him moving past this.
I
And they
will say
2 seconds in the show. Fucking 2 seconds.
moving on to like our thoughts on the finale. Matt, did you have anything else on
No.
Bucky? That Brittany, you talking about like them kind of finally feeling like a unit at the end. The whole scene with the family at the end made this episode so
That's
good.
that felt good
I
because at
fucking
least
love that.
Bucky smiled.
Well, Bucky smiled
know.
and like let loose, and like the kids hanging
kids-
off his
yeah.
arms. I
Like
love
he's
that.
finally forgiving himself for the shit that
Yes.
he literally was not in control of him doing. Like,
Yep.
I just wanted to see more of handling that PTSD because like the episodes where you see him talking to the therapist and like different things occurring, you're like, this is really deep and meaningful. But then you go, whoop, what's John Walker doing? Oh, what are the flag smashers up to? Oh, what's this other fucking thing? What's Sharon doing?
Yeah.
I was excited for her to show up in the show, and then I was just like, why? You're taking screen time now. So anyway, I think the show either should have been longer than 6 episodes, or they should have done 2 separate shows.
They should have
to
given
be
us
like,
8 or 10 like Wanda.
I would have said 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Probably would have been the way to go.
because it was just like
It was rushed.
Because the finale felt rushed. That was the thing. There were a lot of good elements
I
in
actually
it.
don't think that the finale felt rushed. I felt like just the series as a whole was rushed. The finale,
Well, I mean, they
pacing
crammed
was actually
so much.
pretty good.
Yeah, but the penultimate episode, they spent a lot of time building up to it. Like, and then everything was just crammed into the finale. That's what I mean.
I feel like that they had started out maybe saying we're going to make a movie, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then they wrote it and kind of started production. They're like, this is going to be way too long of a movie. We can't do this. And that's when they're like, all right, we'll make it a goddamn show and just break it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll never know. Any other thoughts on the finale before we rate the finale? No?
No.
No?
I just hope that, like, when other shows in the future, when they want to tackle certain themes, just make sure, like Sam says, have the right people in the room.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot of times in this show, like, the dialogue just was cringy to me because I'm like, please just let a black person write the dialogue and I'll be fine with it. Because there's so much to me that
The
just
writer for the finale was
sounded
black.
better. Yet one of the
I know.
co-writers
I'm
was
just
black.
saying. I'm just saying.
That's why Isaiah's scene was better in the finale.
Yeah.
But still,
Agreed.
have my qualms.
Let's rate it. Out of 5 Red Wings.
I'll give it 4.5 dead Carlys out of 5.
Damn.
Yeah, I'll give the finale, like, most of the episodes in the show, I've given, like, a 3.5 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5. The finale, I will give a 4.5 out of 5 because it's still not, like, it was the best episode of the show for sure, but it just didn't quite, like, more made me happy that, like, thank God they're getting another movie because I want to finally see these 2 characters be these 2 characters and do their things, and hopefully the movie's actually about them.
And
If it's not, then I'm just going to be like, what, why?
And
Why
I'm
are we even
really
here?
hoping it's the Russos because they have done Cap so well. Even, I mean, look, listen, Winter Soldier's still the best movie. Like, period, end of story. Yeah. So I don't know what they've said as far as coming back to the MCU, but I really hope. I hope it's what? No?
I still think Infinity War is the best of the MCU
Infinity
movies.
War is really good.
It's really good. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 Red Wings or 4.5 out of 5 U.S. agents, whatever. U.S. agent. That was such a cheesy line. Oh, I'm U.S. agent? I'm U.S. agent? So weird. He's a nerd now. Anyway, 4.5. liked the finale quite a bit. Let's get into talking about the season as a whole, reviewing it, analyzing it. From the get-go, and we had strong feelings on this in the first episode, the series has tried to tackle the race issue and mostly failed. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
How do we feel about the way it was handled in these 6 episodes?
So Brittany and I were talking about this on the car ride to the theater, and I agree with what she said, and I'll let her explain that in a bit. I liked Isaiah's, I liked the fact that he got a little more involved in terms of, like the public kind of knowing what happened to him, but at the same time, it didn't feel like full resolution, as Brittany will, explain shortly. So I liked it, but I mean, as we said in previous episodes, though, some of these episodes should have been directed by somebody of color, somebody who has that outside view, because basically somebody who could put themselves in that position mentally and say, if I were in Isaiah's position, what would, kind of make me at peace or something like that, rather than somebody who will never be in that position, never, has been. So.
Yeah, I like Isaiah a lot as a character, and I like that they brought him into the MCU and they gave him this recognition so now people know his story. Literally, people that might not have known him from comics or even people within the MCU now know his history is included because there's like so much of history that's left out. So the fact that Sam was able to get him an exhibit so that there's the recognition of this happened to this person. He was a real person that was alive because he did recognize his wishes and he said Isaiah Bradley was and not is on his plaque and everything. So the recognition was there, and that was awesome. A very touching scene. Loved that. But the thing that gets me is there isn't that sort of resolution. It's the same thing the show does, where it's like when people are talking about the fact that Chauvin is now in jail and, like things aren't solved for good. It's not really justice. It's just accountability. And that's what Sam did for him. Sam was in a position of power where he was able to get maybe the government's help, but ultimately was at least able to get the museum, because he's obviously done exhibits for like Steve's Shield and everything, to put up this commemorative thing. So that happens. But it's Sam doing it. It's another black man recognizing, this is your story. I want it to be told. Here you go. The whole show, that's all that really happens to help the black characters. Look, in the end, Sam didn't get any help. It was the black community that came together and helped save their ship, help the family. So you still go through this show where the government and the military do nothing to acknowledge or apologize for what happened to Isaiah. They're not promising or ensuring that it's never going to happen to anybody again, nor the other people who it's happened to. No reparations of any kind. Nothing's going towards family. And I know that some people are like, oh, well, maybe the kid's going to become patriot and like the stories are going to continue, whatever. That's fine if they have him continue to show up in phase 4 and like more things can happen or things continue, but like it's not one of those endings where it's like things are resolved, things are fine now that this happened. It's more like he's like, I'm glad people at least know what happened to me because it was fucked up, but it's not justice. So it's just like there's a lot of times people use like a certain phrase where I'm like, I understand the intention, but also it's the wrong use of that phrase. So that's ultimately why in the end I'm like, Isaiah's story is literally called Truth. And that's what his comic does. It just tells the truth. So that's kind of all that happened in the show as well. It's like, here's the truth of what happened. Nothing is solved or fixed by this. But here it is.
I'm going to respectfully disagree with a lot of what you just said, because I just think it's unrealistic to expect all those things in this series and also in a series finale for the biggest reason, just from a creative point of view and like pacing. And I guess and this is kind of what I meant by the question when I asked it to you on Discord. Like, I guess, like, what do you expect to see? Do you want a scene in the show, like showing him get reparations, getting a government apology? Because like, I realistically, like, if I'm writing a script, like I'm saying, I'm either seeing those things again off screen, or I'm seeing them in a, like a new film or a new series. And I just don't find it like realistic to like see those things. I think seeing the museum thing works. I think that is a good, as far as like the visual medium, like seeing that on screen, like that works. As far as justice, if you want to talk about
it more so stems from the fact that people on the internet immediately were like, this show is such, does so much for the black community, or it's such, like, it's
but you have black people saying that.
representation.
We actually got yelled at on our Twitter by a black guy for calling the show out on not handling like the black, like the black
there's people
subject.
that appreciate
Well,
it.
there's always going to be people
And
that disagree.
That's actually what I want to say too, because your point about like George Floyd and Chauvin getting, convicted, like, I think it's justice. But it could be justice and still things like not be perfect, like, and still need to be fixed. And I think you're going to have like half people say it is justice and half people say it's not, on both the black and the white side. It doesn't matter. I mean, listen, it didn't happen to me. I don't want to, again, speak for something that didn't happen to me, but I don't agree that, he didn't get done well in the finale. Or like we didn't see something happen, because I think it worked.
Well, the finale helped his character more, which I agree with. Like, if they would have just left it when he showed up in the show before and that would have been all we saw of his character, I would have been more disappointed. I liked the museum scene, and it did make me cry and tear up, and I felt like, okay, at least Sam is appreciating him as a whole. It was just seeing certain reactions from people, or, they say that the show does things that it doesn't necessarily do fully. Obviously, I'm not going to take things from the show the way a black person will watching this show, because I am a white woman and I know that.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter if I'm gay or not, like that doesn't even compare.
Nope.
But when I see certain people like saying that like things are more solved, or like, oh, this is like perfect or whatever.
No, I think it's
not
absolutely fair to say that things aren't solved. Like things aren't solved, but that's also at the same time, I think, good storytelling, because there is another movie coming out. This is supposedly getting a second season. These are things that we're going to see. Stories also, I just feel like, don't get wrapped up all the time.
But the thing is, it's just not knowing if Isaiah's going to show up again. Or
well, I
is
hope he
his
does,
family
because
going
one,
to?
I mean, I want to see his story keep going, and I also love that actor.
It at least will make people look into the character in these things.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I'd say the last point I want to make is like I'm not against at all like him getting like some kind of reparations. Like he should,
no,
he
you're
absolutely
not. Don't
should.
worry.
I'm looking at this as someone who is on that studio set or in the writer's room, and I'm either given some shitty constraints by Disney or by whoever, and I have to decide, do I have a scene where some dickhead senator is saying, oh, we're sorry for wronging you, and like how do I make this scene have the most impact? And I think making it the museum scene is what works.
I feel, well, the thing with Isaiah, you could argue, is a victim of the show being only 6 episodes.
Yes.
Because if it
Exactly.
was
That's what I was saying.
8
Why
or
bring
10
people in if
episodes,
you're
you
not gonna do
could have done like a more in-depth scene where maybe Sam convinces him to show his face in public, and maybe there's like a ceremony dedicating the museum section to him, saying, we know that you've been wronged. We know this. We've done, the government has done terrible things to you, and so on and so forth. You could, that, like, once again, it's a problem of the show being only 6 episodes,
100%.
And then
agree.
trying to do too much within those 6
Yes.
episodes, which is definitely what it comes down to.
Is there anything else that we want to talk about with both the show dealing with race and as well as Isaiah's character before we move on?
They were clunky with it.
Absolutely.
That's what it
mostly
boils
what-
down to.
I mean,
and
I still
It was too much back and forth.
and I still stand by the what we talked about last episode with how horrible that, like, well, near the end was, like with what Isaiah said to Sam
where he
about,
said like a
Captain
black
America.
man would
Yeah,
never
yeah.
wear this suit,
It
and then
just-
in the end he does, but then he's suddenly okay with it.
It doesn't work.
I feel like that the scene, because I know you said that one of the co-writers of this episode was black. I feel like the scene where their influence was most felt is when Sam is talking to Isaiah in his garden.
It's a great scene.
And when he says, like, like we built this country, we bled
That's a
for
great
it and
line.
stuff like that. And when he kind of says, like, I almost bought that.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that
felt
whole
realistic.
dialogue
Yes.
felt like it was written by a person of color.
Yeah,
But
agreed.
yeah,
I love
I'm not
that
going to
scene.
tell anybody that like Sam isn't good representation and that
Yep.
like
Yeah.
these things don't matter, because thank God we have him
And
as
I-
Captain
and I-
America.
Thank you. I was about to say, at the end of the day, we have like remember, like, this just isn't an issue in the comics, and this just isn't an issue that they're talking about in a TV series. The fact that Captain America is black on TV and in the films in 2021, I think, is a huge deal.
And he's not going to be a placeholder this
No,
time, because
he's
sometimes
not.
in the comics he's
Yeah.
just a placeholder, and then Steve
No.
comes back. It's like, no, Steve is gone.
Sam
The
is
placeholder
Captain
was
America.
fucking John Walker, apparently.
Yeah, and he not only is amazing at it. He deserves it, and Anthony Mackie is a fucking treasure.
I just wanted more of that in the show. I just wanted to applaud him the whole show, and I couldn't.
Agreed.
So I was like,
I know. I think one of the
I could applaud
one of the
him as an
things I
actor,
said
obviously.
early, and this gets to our next point, is the path to Sam getting the shield back. I think we all agree he shouldn't have given it up in the first place, but I guess that's what you needed to have the series.
Yep.
So I guess why in a 6-episode series to have him earn something back that was already given to him, and Steve said to him, like, this is what kills me. Like, Steve said to him when he says, like, how does it feel? Like, it belongs to someone else. And then Steve says to him, but it doesn't.
But it's the same thing with Star Trek Discovery, and that's the only thing I'm going to mention. It's like Michael Burnham has this potential, does this shit, has to work her way back over seasons to becoming, like, basically a captain by the end. And it's just like, why do black characters have to prove their worth, even when they've already proved their worth? And it's just one of those things, like, it's a trope that happens, and that's unfortunate because now, like, you see it all the time, and you're like, this is a problem because you want to enjoy something. But, yeah, it would have been better if they had, like, they could have introduced U.S. Agent a different way, and I know I mentioned it last episode, but, like, they could have had a show where, I don't even care if they did the Flag Smashers and everything was the same shit, except for John Walker was just out of the picture, and it was just him and Bucky doing their shit, solving,
or
whatever.
You
had all that.
Or they do John Walker, and the minute that John Walker pulls what he pulls with killing that guy, whether he had every right to or not, you make Sam Captain America, like, midway through the show, or you don't.
I would just have John Walker appear, like, as a placeholder, but, like, if something happened to Sam, or, like, something comes along where then he drops the mantle of Captain America to do something, or he maybe thinks he wants a different name, John Walker picks it up, fucks it up, becomes U.S. Agent, goes rogue, and then takes it back. So that way it's not like he just gave it up like that, you know? Like, it was just... I feel like it was too soon to throw in U.S. Agent. I feel like they just thought, as soon as, you know, Steve hands in the shield, they're like, oh, there's a moment where there's not a Captain America. We can introduce John Walker. But it's like, no, hold on. One of the best parts of Endgame for me was the fact that Steve handed the shield to him and not Bucky. I was like, holy shit. They're going straight to having a black man be Captain America. This is amazing. And I was so excited for it. And then the show immediately starts with, I know Steve said I'm the man for this, but I'm not. And then I'm like, come on, man. The fuck? The fuck? We took so long to get here and you just give it up? Nobody would do that. What? At least for the culture. Pick up the shield. God damn.
I mean, part of, like, but also the thing is that we don't, and that comes from the fact that Anthony Mackie hasn't had a ton of opportunity to fully realize, because I don't know what his character has been through prior to this in terms of, like, he might have felt he was unworthy of it and such, even though Steve handed it to him. But the problem is we never had a movie or TV show dedicated to the character.
Yeah.
So I don't really know, like, how he is as a person leading up. Like, obviously he's been here and there. I know he works with vets and stuff like that. And he's obviously very, you know, able to communicate with people and work with them. But I also agree he shouldn't have given up the shield, and, you know, having him kind of earn his way back into it wasn't the way to go. It kind of
needlessly caused the Sam and Bucky, like, disconnect too.
Yeah.
Because, like, they butted heads playfully before, but, like, him giving up the shield in the beginning, that whole, like, the distance between them, and then Sam being angry, Bucky being angry with him and vice versa, which they mentioned in the finale where he's just like, well, neither of us knew, or I guess the previous episode, like, neither of us knew what it meant for, like, a black man to take up the shield or whatever. But I'm like, but Bucky, that's not even why you were mad.
And the other thing is that this may be a hot take. I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. Winter Soldier and Civil War did a better job making the Sam-Steve relationship than Captain America 1, Winter Soldier, Civil War did of making Steve and Bucky a believable relationship. So, like, that's why I have so much problem with this, because I do think that they've I wish I'd seen more too, Matt, but I think they have established that relationship and established who Sam is. So when you have in Endgame Steve Rogers, like, you have Steve Rogers giving you the shield, that's all you need.
And
is
Bucky
Captain,
even nods to them. He already knows in the background. He's like, I'm fine with it.
He knows, and it's like Captain America is telling you to become Captain America. That is literally the only, you know, like, reassurance that you should need.
And I know Steve was frozen in ice, and he probably woke back up and was like, wait, black people have rights? So, like, I get that maybe he wasn't prepared for what it meant for Sam to pick up the shield, but, like, he meant well.
I equate it to somebody, you have somebody who is essentially a god almost in terms of their fame and what they've done and stuff like that. And that person says to you, like, here, this is yours now. I think you can do this. A lot of people might choke in that moment and be like, I can't do this. I can't be you. I mean, nobody.
Because he didn't do the training montage. If he would have fucking did that,
he wasn't bouncing shields, the shield off of trees.
My cardio's not up. I got to put it down for a bit.
And I mean, I understand it in a realistic perspective because I mean, just imagine like a Hall of Fame sports player or something. All of a sudden, they come to you and like, yeah, you're going to take my spot now. And you're probably going to be like, I can't be you. You're too good. I can never be you. And I think it's
you got to build up the LeBron.
God damn it, Brittany.
The entire setup and just series as a whole is flawed, and that actually I think brings us to a rating because we already talked about Bucky. Unless there's anything else we want to add about him as well.
Bucky
as
with the good hair. He got that haircut.
The flag smashers because we've all already said that.
My favorite Bucky moment was the fact that he showed up to the cookout and he brought dessert.
Genius. I'm not gonna lie. Genius. I love the fact. Probably one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is him and Sam's sister Sarah.
Yes,
so he's like,
yeah, actually ship it
because somebody at work even said like, I love Anthony Mackie's expressions. He has like one of the most expressive faces. Whenever he's like, "Hey Sarah," and then you see Anthony Mackie's like looks at him like, "What the fuck?"
He also always looks like he has a secret.
Yeah,
he's like.
People don't
on the red carpet.
I don't think people fully realize yet like how much of a national treasure Anthony Mackie is. Like he's just
he's amazing.
I love him.
Yeah.
I absolutely love him.
Props to both of them for they did their scenes justice in the show. It's just unfortunate that like the show didn't support them as much.
Sebastian Stan should have gotten more scenes to act his trauma.
You should have, absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Because damn did I cry.
Yes.
That Wakanda scene.
Oh, so good. Anything else that we want to touch on season 1 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Excitement for Captain America 4?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I want to see them do team shit together. Do it.
Should the movie be called Captain America and something, or should it just be like Captain? Like I mean,
I have no fucking clue.
Like no, but I mean, like, should it be like called Captain America and Bucky Barnes, Captain America and the White Wolf?
It might end up being just called like Captain America and then like whatever title they come up with, like how they did Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings.
Legends of the Ten Rings.
Yeah, I could. I mean, it depends on what route they're going with the villain and the story and all that stuff like that. So once they kind of reveal a little bit more maybe about the movie, then I might say, all right, this should be the title.
And that's why I feel like the show isn't going to do a second season.
No, I don't think it will.
Because if they did, then they would have to change it to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and it would be very confusing to
Well,
Google.
they already did, technically. Everything's saying the show changed titles.
Yeah, but anyway, the song at the end is great. I love it.
Eventually, they're going to have to change the title of the rookie to the junior officer with Nathan Fillion. Sorry, that was a bad joke.
That's a lead-in right there.
He tried to fill in for my puns.
I tried to do something. Let's rate Falcon and the Winter Soldier the whole season out of 5 shield throws.
Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I already have my score.
Do it.
3 out of 5 shield throws.
Oh, thank God. I was like, I don't want to be a jerk.
No, 3 out of 5. This show is flawed. It has a few really good episodes. It has a lot of awkward
moments. Were chef kisses.
That's the thing. The good moments are like the moments that Marvel does best, and that's what this show should have stuck with.
And the bad moments are unfortunately what Marvel does worst.
Exactly. So yeah, 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I wish I could have Zemo of
Oh, by the way, we barely talked about him, by the way. Daniel Bruhl.
Because he wasn't in the finale,
was so freaking good.
He was just in a cell on the raft, and
his fucking butler blew him up.
Anyway.
So I'll go next. I'll give it a 3.5. I dug the action scenes. The racism stuff was so clunky. It was done with like a blunt tool. It was basically like black people have had bad things, like we know, but you guys could have done it in such a better, more subtle way. And I said this in previous episode. The episode is that I would rather have different voices working on the show for different viewpoints and different perspectives and stuff like that. So I also wasn't a fan. Like, if you're trying to set up Walker as some future villain, you did a shit job of it, because I literally...
They're not setting up as a villain. They're setting up as a freaking hero.
I sympathize. I literally, like, at first, I had the initial reaction everybody did, like, fuck this guy for being Captain America. But now I'm kind of like, I kind of agree with a lot of the shit he's done up to this point now. And I should not be feeling that way about somebody you're probably going to make a villain soon.
Yeah, they missed the mark on quite a few things for me, but the scenes that I did like were good. I think the main problem with the show is just the fact that they couldn't commit to a certain thing they wanted, and it was too much back and forth and contradicting themselves, or just like the nuance was not there. So where WandaVision really focused on like this show's about grief and this is what we're tackling, and every episode pretty much tackled a stage of grief, like that was cemented. As much as that finale wasn't mind-blowing, it was just like this, yep, all the beats were hit pretty much. Yeah. And this show is too much of like, oh, I like where this, oh, now I don't know where it's going. I like where this is going. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, the ending of the episode. Yeah, I definitely like where this is going. And then the rest was like, yeah. So it was too much back and forth for me. So it's a 3 out of 5 because I like what they tried to do. They just didn't do it.
Yeah, agreed. They did stick the badass hero landing when he comes through that
at least
glass.
A physical landing they stuck.
That was freaking awesome. So.
A lot of the isms and theorized things they did not stick, but that's okay.
That's it for this. That's it for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's get Captain America 4 going. Get that shit in production. Cut the check, as Anthony Mackie would say. But
if you don't already listen to On and On, please do, because the lyrics also fit Sam so well.
Next up for us is Loki. Oh
yeah.
We're gonna go Loka for Loki.
When does that come out?
I believe May or June.
I think May. I think it's pretty soon.
Soon-ish. So the God of Mischief is coming up, but that's gonna do it for this season of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
We low-key excited for it.
Yeah, we are low-key excited for it. We hope you've enjoyed our episode reviews. We hope that you enjoyed this review. We will see you on the next episode of Everything is Permitted. For Matt, for Brittany, I am Julian. Cut the check.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.